Hey fans, viewers, and listeners, welcome to another exciting episode of Fight Insight Podcast. I'm your guest co-host for today, Raine Cruz, also known as Ringside Raine, ring announcer for Up Next Fighting. And with me as always is Timmy B. Before we get things started, please do follow, subscribe, like, and share Fight Insight Podcast to your friends and family. It's free. And you know what else is free? You will get news and updates from our show. Our guests today are Dr. Dimitri Stavros, who will talk about UFC's new partnership with DFSI, and Khaleel, the real Pearson, who will talk about his upcoming bout at UNF 15. Plus, we will discuss Ngannou versus Joshua. Who do you guys think will win this bout? All that and more. So, Tim, hit it! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fight Insight Podcast.
All right, our first guest today is our resident medical expert who's come on previously to explain the UFC concussion protocols, the anatomy of calf kicks, using his extensive medical background as a treating chiropractor and training as a martial artist himself in Taekwondo, Muay Thai, and now Okinawan Goju Ryu. Today, he comes to us to help break down the UFC's new partnership with DFSI, Drug Free Sport International, which as of January 1st, 2024, replaced USADA. Or did it? Raine, I don't really understand what the hell's going on. So Jimmy is here to break it down. Today is a day you will get educated. Raine, bring him in.
Please welcome Demetrius, Dr. Jimmy Stavros.
Hello, everyone. I never thought I'd get such an amazing intro. Thank you, Raine, so much. I feel like I'm ready to start, to throw down in the ring. This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Dr. Jimmy, Raine is on Cameo, so you actually owe her $25 for that.
I owe you $25. Okay, sounds good. Do you take PayPal? E-transfer?
Yeah, I do.
Awesome. Tell you what, why don't you, when you come to Canada, when you come to Toronto, I'll send you a Timmy's card instead. That should be sufficient payment, I think.
Yeah,
there you go. That works.
Actually, our good friend DDP learned all about Timmy's on our podcast. And so, but I have not seen him holding one yet, which I've been disappointed. I watched him on the MMA hour today, and he was not holding a Timmy's cup. So he has not taken our advice yet, Raine. But hopefully soon.
Maybe after the fight, and then he's going to get the Tim bits, right? The donut hole.
Yeah.
There you go. Dr. Jimmy, okay, so this episode, we're focused on figuring out what the hell DFSI is, okay? I haven't heard about it from anybody. Nobody is talking about it. Everybody just kind of knew what happened at the beginning when, I think it was back in like November when there was that fallout, when USADA revealed that they were no longer going to be part of UFC. Their partnership had been, 8 years? No.
Yeah, since 2015. The UFC and USADA joined forces in 2015. And they've been working together since then. And then you're right, as of the fall, they decided that they were going to part ways, and there was some controversy there, which we could touch on as well. But now the UFC is kind of going in a different direction.
What I think happened for everybody out there, I think everybody knew that USADA was the company that would go get your PP. They would study it. They would see if you had picograms of drugs in there, and then they would issue out, enforcement action or like suspensions or penalties, whatever the hell it was, right? And we've known plenty of people through time that have been, hit up by USADA and, not been able to fight, been on 6-month suspensions, blah, 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 whatever it is, right?
That's right. So that's exactly what sorry, go on.
No, please.
Yeah, so that's exactly what USADA is for. So USADA it's a nonprofit organization. It's non-governmental. It was set up back in 2000, and it did join forces with the UFC in 2015. And if you guys remember, up until that point, it seemed to be an epidemic of a lack of testosterone in the UFC. People were getting these things called therapeutic use exemptions, so TUEs, that were designed essentially to let athletes utilize certain performance-enhancing substances that were considered banned. But if they had a medical exemption, they would get the medical exemption. So there was that testosterone replacement therapy thing that was going on right up until 2015. So there was Chael Sonnen, Forrest Griffin, Frank Mir, even Vitor Belfort. If you guys remember, Vitor at one point was looking huge. And there was a period of time where he was only fighting in Brazil. And I think that part of the reason why is because they didn't have the same sort of stringent rules. So USADA came in. They started to clean things up in the UFC. And the purpose of USADA, like you said, is not only do they do the blood tests and the urine samples, but they send the stuff out to get tested. But they're also the ones that do they're the enforcers of the penalties for people who are found to break the anti-doping rules.
Right.
So and USADA would sorry, go on.
Yeah, they are the police, the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
That's correct.
They were everything. And the whole point was that UFC kind of stood away from it. So there's no bias, there's no favoritism, there's no nothing, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Before we get on, for everybody's benefit, especially the ladies, when you take extra testosterone, when you get that TUE or whatever, like, you get a lot of mass, whatever. Jim, take your shirt off and show the ladies what happens when you're on testosterone.
You guys are not ready for this. You're not ready for this. All right. Oh, no. Maybe off the air.
All right, fine. An extra $25 to Jim's Cameo will get you a shirtless shout out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. From like 20 years ago.
So what we're going to do, Raine, is UFC. Okay. I watch a lot of crap, and I've been watching like a lot of political stuff, and there's a lot of like fake news out there and stuff like that. Like in the last few years, right? You always hear about that. UFC puts out a release, like a press release on their website that talks about DFSI coming into play. And so I'm going to show you the 5 major points that the UFC puts on their website, which I believe, Dr. Jimmy, we will see as being quite a bit misleading.
Because we're going to go through the points and see if we can find some things that might be of concern or might not be of concern. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Raine, your chances of being a UFC announcer will go down the tubes after this podcast. Okay?
Oh, no.
So here we go. Okay. And to be fair, Jim, this is based on yours, mine, and Raine's general review of information we found online, right? So maybe this is wrong, maybe not. This is the best we could find, but I think it's more than anybody else is telling us, and the more that anybody would really know at this point, unless you're looking into it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay. That's just a little preface warning. So there you go, Raine. Your job is safe, maybe. Okay. First point that the UFC says, it says sample collection is conducted by Drug Free Sport International. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The graphics here get amazing, Jim. So the sample collection is run by DFSI. Jimmy, what do you say to that point?
Okay, so prior to the introduction of DFSI coming in to collect the samples, as we just noted before, USADA was collecting the samples. And USADA was following the guidelines set out by the World Anti-Doping Agency, and they have a protocol on how it is that they're supposed to be collecting the samples. So, for example, it could be like 6 a.m. in the morning, completely unannounced. The fighters have to be available. They have to tell, within that 6-month window, they have to tell USADA where they are, so they'd have to check in with their location so that they could be accessible for the testing. But the DFSI, so that's the Drug Free Sports International, this is an organization that also does these sorts of sample collections, and they do them for organizations like the Major League Baseball, NFL, FIFA, but they're a for-profit organization. Aside from that, they're still WADA accredited, so they are an organization that is accredited by WADA, so they follow the same protocols and they follow the same guidelines. The difference being, of course, that one is a nonprofit organization that also can mete out any punishments, but DFSI is just being utilized for the collection purposes.
Yeah. So 2 points. One is that DFSI is only collecting the blood and PP.
That's correct.
Right? So that's very important, because I think people thought DFSI was going to do everything. Like, no more USADA, DFSI comes in and does everything. But what we're going to see here now, what Jim has revealed in the first point alone, DFSI only collects. I mean, how hard can that be? No offense. Like,
yeah,
how hard is that job? Right?
The challenge is going to be with the athletes. I mean, obviously these are professionals, so these guys know the routine. They've done this many times before. But it's about availability, making sure that they are available.
Hold on. Don't get to that point, because that's number one.
Yeah. Okay.
Get to that.
Yeah.
But Raine, the second point that Jim makes, and I think is interesting. What do you think when you know that USADA is not for profit, and then DFSI is a for-profit company? Do you think that opens the door for like any something?
Like any something like, that's not like legal in the sporting world, or
Yeah, like shadiness or
I guess like for me, if it's like a for-profit company that just happened to kind of come out of nowhere, I will be suspicious. But the thing is, like, this company also does like testing for like other sporting leagues. So if we're using the logic that, okay, if this is shady for the UFC, then does that like taint like um the authenticity of the tests for other sporting leagues then?
no, no. Okay, hold on. But it's not testing. It's just the collection. So they're only collecting. They're not testing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying where my brain goes is like, if you're a for-profit company, it means you want to make money more so than a nonprofit, I guess, right? Like you've got bosses and shareholders and whatever. And I worry that then that means you'll do whatever the hell the UFC wants to not rock any boats because we're a for-profit company. We want to get as much money out of this baby as possible. Jim, do you know what I mean there?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's a pretty controversial, presumption, of course, because that's what we're doing, right? We're only talking about possibility presumptions, that we're not making any determinations on anything. But one can arguably say that there's some room for flexibility there. But I think in this particular case, because DFSI is just there to collect, their purpose is for the collections, and they are adhering to the rules that were set out by the World Anti-Doping Agency. I think it's pretty clear cut that they should be able to do things all, above. They will be doing things above board and so on, and doing it according to the rules that are set out. That seems to be one of the things where there's little change in the protocol, if at all, other than the fact that they're just utilizing a different organization.
Okay. But point number one, what's very important is to realize is that DFSI isn't doing the whole shebang. They're only doing the collection. Also of note, I did read, Jim, that they are going to abide by the same rules that USADA did, in the sense that it is unannounced anytime testing. They will go there at any time of day, whenever, morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. They will find you and they can take the collection. That's still on the table. So that's good, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. So that's the same protocol that they've been using, with, like you said, with USADA. It could be any place, anytime, unannounced. Exactly.
Yeah. Good luck to the DFSI person tasked with going into the Dagestani mountains to go find Islam Makhachev, right? Good luck. That's all I have to say. Point number two, Raine, sample analysis is performed by sports medicine and laboratories. That deleted too fast for me to see it. Sample analysis performed by sports medicine and research testing laboratories. Jimmy, anything there?
This is an organization. They are accredited by the World Anti-Doping Organization, so or the agency rather, and they are accredited with the World Anti-Doping. Sorry, I mentioned that already. The World Anti-Doping Agency. This is the organization that will be doing the actual testing. Now, they will be testing for things like performance-enhancing drugs, like it could be anabolic steroids. It could be things like erythropoietin, which helps with blood cell formation. What they won't be doing, though, is testing for substances of abuse. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe USADA was testing that before, which are things like narcotics or even marijuana, like cannabis products. So they're not going to be testing for those. That's a different organization, if I remember correctly. That's going to be doing that. So, and the person that they do have it, the gentleman who's running it, is Dr. Daniel Eicher, and he's also been hired by the UFC to be their science advisor. So not only is he the president of the Sports Medicine and Research Testing Laboratory, but he's also going to be working with the UFC as their advisor. So as it's noted, they will continue to be doing the testing in the same sort of accredited laboratories that they have been doing it previously with USADA. In this particular case, again, I don't see there being any challenges there or any difficulties there, because it is an accredited facility.
I thought I had read something that said that they don't have to use it, though, that there were some loopholes where they might not have to use that lab. Is that not correct?
I didn't come across that information, so that's something I definitely want to look into. But yeah, as far as I know, they're using the Sports Medicine Research Testing Laboratory, but I wasn't aware of any other information concerning other locations. As long as they're accredited by WADA and they follow the same rules, I think that it should be. If they're an affiliated organization, it should be all above board.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the only name they have on their website too.
Yeah, as far as I can see,
yeah.
But that's the problem, though. I think there was something that I had read, and I'll look for it later, that said that it's possible that they're able to use different organizations to do it, and that was a concern, was that maybe they can use a different lab.
I think what I came across was that the DFSI, the collection could be with DFSI or one of its contracted affiliates. So I think maybe that was one of the potential concerns. But assuming that it's a contracted organization that they're going to be utilizing, they'd have to abide by the same guidelines.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hope that is the case and that they're allowed to do that and that everything goes good there. Jimmy, let's get to point number 3. Administration and sanctioning overseen independently by CSAD and George Piro. So that's him there. Jimmy, what do you know about this guy?
All right, so CSAD, Combat Sports Anti-Doping, is an organization that it seems the UFC has taken the initiative to help form this organization. And George Piro this is a very interesting character. So this is a gentleman who's got many years in his services with the United States. He's been a member of the CIA. He's been an operative he's been an agent of the CIA. He's been working with the FBI. At one point, he was the field director, I believe it was, of the Miami office. He was the associate director for the Washington division that they have out there as well. But he's also a decorated BJJ no-gi champion. This guy he's actually a BJJ, like a successful BJJ competitor and a huge MMA fan. So he has this this extensive background, but he's also a competitor and an athlete in the same vein. So they've created this organization. This is the organization that's going to be meting out the fines and meting out the suspensions and so on. That was previously being done by USADA. So before with USADA, everything was done in-house under one roof. Now the Combat Sports Anti-Doping organization that they've created is going to be doing the same, but they've made changes in the punishments or the consequences of violations relative to what was being done before with USADA.
Right. So a few points here. My brain's going all over the place. I'm going to backtrack for one quick second. The testing labs in the policy or whatever, in the new policy, it says samples shall be analyzed only in laboratories accredited or otherwise approved by WADA or other designated qualified laboratories. So the concern there is that over time they could get away from WADA. Sorry, that's what I was reading before. So that is one thing that's interesting to note. So assumedly, if the WADA stuff gets too stringent or whatever, the UFC could go, or another designated laboratory. And then it might be able to circumvent, right? Okay, what you're talking about here. So we create CSAD to dole out the punishment. You've just created this, which is kind of crazy, which then again leads to the fact that how much control does UFC have now over this, right? Before, remember, there were some times when Dana White would get mad because it would seem like the penalties were too harsh or blah, 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 right? But UFC couldn't do anything because they'd given it all to USADA. Now with CSAD having it, an entity that the UFC has seemingly created, it's a little bit different. Then you put in place this guy, George Piro, who, I'm not saying anything bad about this dude. This guy interrogated bin Laden, right? Isn't that what he did?
Saddam Hussein. It was Saddam. Yeah,
Saddam Hussein. Sorry, yeah. So right, like this is the bad dude, but absolutely zero history with sports or doping that anyone can find. He is a BJJ competitor, which ironically is a sport riddled with performance enhancing drugs, right? So, but he's going to be a strong force with CSAD. So on the positive side, this dude is a strong force there to be able to dole out punishments.
That's right. It's interesting. You note the lack of experience in this particular field. So what I had noted in my research of this is that he'll be working together with Dr. Daniel Eicher, who's the head of the Sports Medicine Research Testing Lab, in order for them to create, or for him to get his expertise on the consequences of rule violations. And what some of the other things to note as well that are quite interesting is that some of the stuff that was managed by USADA before, and USADA was very, very diligent and very strict on the way that they meted out certain consequences of violations. Some of the wording of the new guidelines indicate that some of the potential repercussions of violations are under the direction or the determination of the administrator, referring to George Pirro. So in some instances, it might be the case that Pirro reviews the information that's presented. And some of the other things that have changed as well is it allows the fighters an opportunity to contest some of the potential decisions that might be made. But then it comes down to, it's not just like, the USADA was utilizing something called there was a code that was set out by the World Anti-Doping Agency code. And they would be very strict on the guidelines of that, where in this particular case, you have an individual that could choose to alter the outcome of a potential violation, as opposed to USADA having complete autonomy over that.
Right. So, Raine, what do you think there? What do you think the Timmy B conspiracy is there?
Honestly, for me, I think by having George Pirro, I think, first of all, even though he doesn't have any experience in terms of substance, drug testing and all that, I feel like you're trying to, they are, or UFC is trying to spotlight that, hey, this guy has interviewed or interrogated Saddam Hussein. He has interrogated bad people. So if you're lying to him, he's going to get you. Right. So I think the point here is, if at any point fighters somehow wiggle their way through the testing, because they are going to conduct random testings, right? Like they're going to find you and you got to report where you are, and DFSI will collect your sample, blah, blah, blah. And if there's a fighter who's trying to wiggle their way out of it, I think George Pirro and will be that kind of person who will try to cut the, the BS out of, someone trying to wiggle out their way from doing a test.
Raine is always so positive, Jimmy. It bothers me. It bothers me to no end. But
a ray of sunshine, Raine. Just this ray of sunshine.
Yeah, but Raine is right? So on the one hand, maybe this dude comes in as an imposing figure. I mean, I don't know how much you can be imposing to these fighters who are killers themselves, but maybe it's like, hey, I've got my BS detector. I know how I can catch you, blah, blah, right? I'm gonna get you, which is great. But where they give him the ability to now kind of lessen punishments, I don't know where I stand on that. I would love for people to leave comments and stuff and say whether you like them being able to arbitrarily be more lenient on a sentence than another. Because here's the thing, Jim. Conor McGregor, yeah, okay, I get your excuse. It's fine. And then, Joey Nobody, no, 6-month suspension. Like, the line should be drawn so that it's equal for everybody. And that's why I did like USADA, because as annoyed as I was when Bobby Green got caught for taking over-the-counter, pills that had a little bit of something in it, and he never realized it. Probably George Piros in this case would go, you know what, Bobby Green, we understand what's happening. Okay, just continue to fight. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect example of where it is that the UFC is trying to step in so that you can arguably say that what they're doing here is they're advocating for their fighters. Like you have some fighters, like you said, Bobby Green, they have taken something. And although the USADA guidelines allowed for, for the fighter to appeal whatever decisions were made because they might have, they do testing for things like contaminated substances and so on. I think in this particular case, they're making the process a little bit easier. But just going back to George Pirro for a second, if you think about it, actually, it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of a brilliant move if you think about it, why they would bring in someone like this. This is a guy who's run 2 field offices for the FBI. So clearly this guy is going to be able to manage a team of individuals that are going to be put together. I imagine that he's going to have consultants and a team that they'll be able to review this stuff, and maybe they'll have consultations about what what their findings are and so on. So he's this guy's an investigator. Like, this is his bread and butter. This is what he does on a national level and on an international level. This is a guy who's going to be able to put together essentially the equivalent of a field office for the UFC, so that they can review the information and then put together, a comprehensive outline of what those repercussions might be. So, although, like, again, he may not have the experience in what he was doing on that end of things, but it's no different than, some large organizations hiring someone that seemingly has no experience in a given field, but they're exceptional at certain tasks, like in this particular case, investigations and putting together all the necessary information for his particular new role. Right.
Leadership is leadership, right?
Yeah.
And so strong leadership is strong leadership, and that can transcend technical lines, and he'll have the people under him to help him. Again, you guys are very positive and whatever. I do think I like what Jimmy said. Look, the UFC is looking out for their own, which means they're looking out for you and I as fans and as people that consume the product, because when those fights get taken off the card last minute, it kind of sucks, right? You're like, oh, whatever. And then to find out that it's just because he took like a protein powder from Walmart, you're like, oh God, okay, what could that have really helped this guy? So this does allow the sport to kind of continue, these people's careers to continue. So this is all good news.
Yeah.
The only potential negative to me is the possibility for favoritism, right? I don't like that. The possibility that, someone might get a little bit preferential treatment. So that's where I am on that one. Jimmy, we're going decently on time. Let's get to point number 4. There's a comprehensive list of prohibited substances. Jimmy, we touched on this already, but we're saying that the list is the same.
Yeah, the list is the same. So the same sort of idea with respects to any performance-enhancing drugs that USADA was utilizing before, as outlined by the World Anti-Doping Agency. They do have some differences, though. So, for example, there's some omissions or some changes in the wording of some of the things that gives the UFC a little bit more flexibility to decide what constitutes a failed test, for example. Or in this particular case, if you want to, you could say that it's the Combat Sports Anti-Doping Organization that they've created. So, So, sorry, go ahead.
No. Keep going.
Okay, so one of the things that USADA was particular on, as per the World Anti-Doping Agency, was if an athlete was guilty by association, let's say, for example. So they had a support personnel with them that may have been found to be in possession of some performance-enhancing substances, or maybe they themselves were distributing those sorts of things. The athlete could potentially have also been punished as a result of that. So that's one of the things that they've removed from that, so that the fighter themselves don't suffer the consequences of the actions of someone else that they're unaware of what they're doing. And I think in that respect, that's fair to the athlete, because just backtracking slightly, with the Combat Sports Anti-Doping Group, what they've done is, like I mentioned briefly, is they've changed some of the lengthy punishments that some of the fighters would get before. Like, you'd have for some things like a minimum of 2 years for one violation, or a maximum of 4. That could be in an athlete's entire career that's gone.
The remainder of your life. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. But they've lowered some things to like 1 to 2 years, for example. But they've also made it so that there's a greater opportunity for the athlete to appeal certain decisions. So there are some changes in this particular section, and I think, again, it's specific to the way that the punishments are going to be meted out, or what constitutes a violation within that particular framework.
All right. Perfect. Dr. Jimmy. Raine, I feel like all of our jobs with the UFC is much safer, because this podcast is going far different than I thought it was. Because I'm a miserable guy, Jim. And so when I read these articles and I saw some of the differences, I was always taking the negative spin. Okay. But you guys have, like, Raine and Jimmy, you're putting this positive spin on it. I like it. I like where this is going. It's looking like it's.
I will give you something, though. I will give you something, Timmy. Okay, because I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave this all on a positive note. Okay, I'll give you a little something. So
it's too happy.
It's too happy. Yeah. So one of the things that USADA used to have was they would take into consideration any previous substance use. That could have been like recreational stuff like marijuana, or it could have been performance-enhancing drugs. So if an athlete came into the UFC before being contracted with them, or if they retired and they returned, they had to inform USADA if they had utilized at any point in time either banned substances or any PEDs prior to getting into that 6-month pool.
Yeah.
Now, what they've done now, or what they used to do, was if an athlete was caught, let's say, with marijuana in their system, or they were found in some testing to have a banned substance that they had admitted to using before, USADA could utilize that history to enhance the outcome or create the outcome of the punishment for the use of those substances. So what they've done, one of the things that they've changed, is they've actually eliminated that part of it, so that any athlete who's come back to the UFC for that 6-month pool or whatever that case is, and has confirmed that they've used substances, now that can't be held against them. And one athlete in particular, and this is kind of one of the reasons, at least the reason why I should say the head of the USADA had accused the UFC of favoritism, is Conor McGregor. So Conor McGregor had his injury. There's pretty nasty tib-fib fracture. He removed himself from the pool, and then he started to recover from his injuries. But then you saw the size of the guy afterwards, right? Like, he got huge. And
his head grew.
Yeah, right? His neck was thick, traps were huge, he got big. And there's although there isn't a lot of great quality research on it right now, because it's really hard to find a pool of athletes with fractures that you want to give banned substances to, but there is some decent research that shows that things like exogenous testosterone, so anabolic steroid use, can improve healing of bones, especially long bones. So in a situation like Conor McGregor's, if he came back into the UFC, then he would have to be part of that pool, that 6-month pool, or you're supposed to have 2 negative tests. Even with USADA, though, the UFC could waive the 6-month thing, but then they'd have to still be a part of the two tests, right? The negative test within that 6-month period. But if I'm not mistaken, not only is that 6-month period of time waived, or can be waived, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the administrator of the Combat Sports Anti-Doping Agency can also potentially waive the 2 negative tests. I could be wrong on that. I have to review. But if that is one of the things, that could be a situation where an athlete is shown a lot of leniency when they return to combat sports, when they return to the octagon.
Yeah. So therein lies something interesting, because, Jimmy, when USADA got mad and kind of hinted that the reason why they were getting fired was because they wanted to allow people like Conor to come in unclean, right? Mm-hmm. What you're talking about is the reason why, because the ability to make the exemption on the 6 months, the ability to make the exemption on the 2 negative tests, and the exemption on, or the allowance for an excuse for previously taken and admitted for drugs, kind of now comes into play. That's why I thought at UFC 300, the potential for Nate Diaz, the potential for Jorge Masvidal, the potential for GSP, the potential for, anybody, Conor McGregor, it's right there. Now this new rule kind of allows that. So that's interesting. Last point we're going to make, and it's going to be fairly quick because I know our next guest is already here. But the last point here, and I'm just going to put this on, I apologize, it was supposed to look so much prettier, the graphics, but I'll put up a still screen here of this one. But here's the last point, okay? There's a new digital whereabouts platform. Okay. This is, as we know, this is so that DFSI can find you. They know where to go. They know where to collect, right?
That's right.
Jimmy, I did some research on this one, but I'll let you speak first. Did you get anything on this that was fantastical?
I'll be honest with you, Timmy, I didn't. I'm sorry. The way I see it, it's pretty straightforward in terms of the way that it's going to be done. It's a digital platform that the athletes use to tell the organization that's doing the testing, so the DFSI, where they're going to be. So
So the only thing I'll say is I reached out to some UFC fighters to ask them how it's going. I asked them, hey, it's only been since January 1st. We're only January 15th, right? Has DFSI come to your door? Have you heard anything? Everybody was pretty much, nah. Haven't heard anything, don't really see anything different. Everybody was pretty much like, as far as I know, it's all the same stuff, right? Which is great, but maybe they'll watch our podcast now and realize there are a few differences. But what many of them said was that the new platform is terrible. The only reason why, and it's probably just they just need some new versions or whatever, but right now what's happening, and just, to keep people in the loop, because you want to know what's going on with your favorite UFC fighters, is that right now you can only input one place where you're going to be at one time. So previously under USADA, apparently they could say like, oh, I'm going to be here at this gym from 12 to 6, and then I'm going to go over to my house from 7 to 5, or blah, blah, right? I'm using terrible numbers. I don't know why I'm doing that. But they could lay out their day, right?
Mm.
Apparently now on the new platform, you can only enter in one thing. So people were telling me like, I got to be on this stupid thing every day. Like, okay, now I'm here.
Oh, like you have to check in basically wherever you are.
Yeah. So like that's really weird because
that would be time consuming and frustrating.
Time consuming, frustrating. They did say like it will save addresses, like common addresses, so you don't have to type it all in. Mm-hmm. But you can't pre-populate and stuff like that. So they said that was weird. The other thing here I'll say with that, Jimmy, if I can't tell you where I'm going to be all tomorrow, how are you going to send Mr. Jones to collect my blood? He's got to sit here on the app and go, now he's at Harvey's, and then rush and get me, right? Now he's at Syndicate MMA, go off to the gym, right? Like, how are you going to know where I plan your day? So that seems a bit weird. I mean, I
wonder, I guess, you know what, I imagine that probably what they do is they look at where common locations are at specific times where you're known to be.
Yeah, like a pattern, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. What's the pattern? Where are you going to be? You're at this gym or that location or whatever. But I've read some stuff where they, like USADA used to do some crazy stuff. Like, okay, 6 a.m. getting collections are tough because it's 6 a.m. and no one wants to be up that early unless you're a person who gets up that early. But sometimes they're doing things like blood collection during weight cutting. And I think it was Costa. They did like blood collections. I think it was on Costa when he was cutting weight. It's like probably not the best time to be collecting blood from someone who's already putting themselves through like a tremendous amount of physical difficulty. So yeah, there were some concerns and complaints that athletes had about it, but I guess that's the life of a professional fighter. You got to be on call. I mean, you got to be available on without you even knowing when they're showing up.
Yeah, that is it. Okay. So we've gone through everything. Dr. Jimmy, I appreciate you being here so much. Like, I really love this. I feel like this was interesting. Raine, was this interesting to you as a...
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah? So hopefully people... Like, the problem is, Raine, we were talking about our podcast has to become more trashier and stuff like that. And then we go right into like an educational podcast. But God damn it, right? If you're interested in this stuff, I feel like that's interesting. I feel like it gave out some points. Again, I'm going to put this on the screen so it shows the main 5 things that was in the UFC announcement. Sample collection conducted by DFSI. Sample analysis is performed by other laboratories. Administration and sanctioning is by CSAD and George Piro. There's a comprehensive list of prohibited substances, and there's the new whereabouts platform. 4 and 5, who cares? But it's 1, 2, 3 that I think is interesting that maybe people didn't know. So that is that. Jimmy, you're the best, my friend.
I love seeing you guys. Thank you so much.
I'm going to see you later this week. We're going out for dinner. Raine, is there anything you want to say to Dr. Jimmy before he goes?
No, thank you so much for joining us today, because it's really good to learn more about this new DFSI partnership with UFC.
Awesome. Yeah, no, my pleasure. And it's been very informative for me too, and it's been great meeting you, Raine. So thank you so much for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Jimmy. I really appreciate it, buddy. This was great. I really appreciate it. I feel like we did a good job keeping it condensed but informative. Like, it's not too long, but it's not too short. So I feel like it's good. We did a good job.
Awesome.
Dr. Jimmy's
we covered all points. So
all the points. That's all we need to get to. All right, my friend. I will see you soon. And whenever new stuff comes up, we'll have you back on the podcast as always, man.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, buddy. Take care, man. See ya. Bye-bye. All right, Raine. Dr. Jimmy is the best. He's very studious, but he loves the sport. So that's why this guy is the best guy to be able to do stuff like this for us. I do thank him so much. I will say, for friends of the podcast update, I know we've got Khaleel here, but his screen looks black on my screen. So I just don't know if he's...
Unless he turned off his camera, maybe?
Or turned off the camera, maybe. So we'll see. But so I will just quickly say, friends of the podcast update, Raine, it's a long one. Jeez Louise. Okay, friends of the podcast update. Thank you. RageWorks Podcast Network, as always, rageworksnetwork.com. Go there for a bunch of other audio podcasts. March 2nd, the very first BKFC event in Canada comes to Western Canada. I believe it's out in Calgary. We had a guy on the podcast a while ago, Robert Desharnais. He was looking for his shot. He's got it. Robert Desharnais is going to be at BKFC. He's fighting for a contract. So congratulations to that guy. Okay, now I see Khaleel. He's on a different screen here. He's looking very pretty. He's partnering. He's getting ready. So he's ready to go. Okay, so Robert Desharnais is there at BKFC, and the co-main event, Jade Masson-Wong, who was one of our favorite guests of last year. She's going to be the co-main event. So we've got two of our friends there at that event. You've got UNF 15 on January 27th. We've got good old ringside Raine there, and we've got our guest today. He's going to be there. February 3rd, FLA 13. It was just announced that Ben Leese is going to be fighting at FLA 13 on February 3rd. Hoping to get him on the podcast in the next couple of weeks, Raine. As well, yours truly is going to be commentating at FLA 13, so I'm very excited for that. And then this weekend, UFC 297, it's a Canadian event in Toronto. Of course, our good friend DDP, Dricus du Plessis, is on the podcast. Is on the show in the main event, but also fighting former guests of the podcast, Jillian Savage Robertson, Malcolm X Gordon, and Mike Malott. All of our friends are fighting in Toronto. I'm so excited for all of them. But Raine, let's get to our second guest. Our second guest today, he fights, like I just said, at UNF 15. I had it on my notes. January 27th in Los Angeles, California, at the Ukrainian Culture Center. Get your tickets now at upnextfighting.com. He's a friend of the show. He appeared once before on episode 127, where we learned about his love for music. He's a professional jazz pianist. Don't forget, he loves dogs, his education, fighting, and life. He believes that when one door closes, another opens. You may remember him as Luscious Gordo, but his name has changed, Raine. He's reinvented himself. Welcome this man in.
Please welcome Khaleel the Real Pearson.
Yo,
Look at this guy.
How you guys doing?
Khaleel, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, man. How you guys doing?
Good. Do you mind turning your camera sideways? Is that okay? I know we're
yeah,
fucking it up, but this way we get an even better view of you. Here we go. Yes. There you go.
Oh, you're at Matador training.
Yes. You see it.
Very nice. What's up, my friend? How are you? Are you excited to be fighting in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm so excited. You guys know it's been a little bit of time off for me. I've been waiting for the right opportunity, the right moment, the right opponent. Up Next has been behind me the whole way. I've been training at Matador training. We have a fight team over here. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing camp so far, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready.
Very, very nice. I think your mic is a little bit far away from you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. I'm just learning this stuff too. I'm getting better.
Look at him.
As you become the superstar professional you are, you gotta know where the mic is, my friend.
There we go. My apologies. I'll try that again. Yeah, it's just been time off. I've had great training. I have a fight team now. I have a great coach. UNF has been behind me the whole way. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm prepared. I'm excited.
That's good, man. And yeah, I know, because the last time we had you on, you said that you were hoping for a fight around the end of the year last year, right? Coming back after your last few fights, and you're like, look, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to wait till the end of the year. It's not that different. We're just a couple months into the new year when you're going to be, or 1 month into the new year when you're fighting. So the scheduling, the timing looks like it was about right for you. You felt good. This is the time now, right?
Yeah, I was honestly looking to return December 2nd. I had a few of my teammates fighting on the card, but it just made sense for me to take a little bit more time, spend more time with my coach, continue to work hard, get some reps in, and find the perfect opportunity that we felt was right for me, and we found it. And also 15 is my lucky number, so boom.
There you go, man. What about this opponent was primo for you? What was it that made this right?
I don't like easy fights. I feel like a lot of amateurs, they try to take the easy road. They try to, cakewalk their way up there. So it was important to find someone that's going to, where I can showcase my talent and my skills, someone who's going to be game, and someone who also has experience. Because sometimes, it takes, we see fighters at high levels, sometimes you can fight down to your opponent, sometimes. So I just want to have somebody that's game, somebody that's prepared. I like his style. He's been training longer than me too. I like to push myself, so I'm excited.
Nice, man. Good for you. Raine, how excited are you to be able to announce this man again?
I'm really excited because, as a backstory for everyone, Khaleel is one of the fighters from my very first UNF show. And I remember I was so excited to announce him because he was one of the guys who was actually like vibing, while I was announcing him. He was like, shaking his body. And I was like, man, that's awesome. It was for me, being that as my first time announcing fighters, to see someone enjoying the way I announced him, the way Khaleel did, I was like, man, I want to announce this guy every single fight that he has. And I'm excited you have a new nickname, The Real.
Yeah, management's decision, it's tough for my guys to be walking around calling me Luscious all day. So, I just save that for, bedtime. But yeah.
Someone.
Yeah, for that, that time. But yeah, I'm excited. How's everything for you? I know you've been busy. So is it still the same? Do you still get that same feeling every time you bring someone out, or are you waiting for me to return?
No, every single time I get to announce someone, I transform into a different person. It's like an electrifying moment. It's like, basically, to borrow the words from The Rock, it's such a great feeling to share my passion with everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, I mean, Khaleel, I want to ask, did you watch your fights back? Like your other fights, your last 3 fights, have you watched them back?
I get film the next day. Right after my fight, that next day, I have my bros literally recording the TVs back home. So, I'm quick to, get right to film and always see what I did bad, but then see the good to take away from things. Yeah. And I feel like from every fight, I've been able to take away so many positive things. So, that's why I feel like it's been a journey getting back, but I have a lot of people that have got behind me from watching my previous fights, and a lot of people that believe in me and believe in my talents. And now that I actually have a coach behind me, like I have a full camp, I don't have any injuries going in, like we're excited. We're excited to see where this can go.
Good. Now, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a selfish question for me, but I want to ask you because I'm going to be announcing at Fight League Atlantic out in Eastern Canada on February 3rd. Okay.
Congrats.
There's going to be some amateurs on the card. And I want to know, as an amateur fighter, what is most important to you that the commentators would talk about while you're fighting? Like, what is most meaningful?
Oh, I love this question. I love this question because I'm a little harsh. I feel like there's a lot of politics in this game, which is in every industry. So, there's favorites, there, people with agendas behind it. But I like announcers and commentators that are really aware of what's going on and can walk people through what's going on in front of them, give non-biased, opinions on what's going on. People that really understand technique and MMA, like that's beautiful to me. And I like people that keep it real. I love commentators that get excited, like when we look back at that tape and we hear, that's a big part for us, to see what people are thinking when they're watching is how the film is, how the eyes are on it. So, if you're, you know what you're talking about, what you're on, you're positive, like you already are. I know you love this stuff. Like, I know you love this, like us fighters love it. So we appreciate that.
Okay. What about like a personal thing? Like, do you like it when people would say something personal about you? Like, so let's say you're fighting and throughout it, do you want them to say like, hey, look at how Khaleel's moving. He's very musical in nature. Did you know that Khaleel is a former professional jazz pianist, right? Like, do you want them to say things like that? Do you like that about you?
Yeah, I don't mind. To me, that shows people have done their homework, like that shows people are doing their jobs and they're not just, going on the fly or like reading down a piece of paper that they have in front of them. It shows them that you care about every fighter. And it takes a little bit of wit and slickness to be able to throw that in and mix that with this art that we see. So, I mean, if you were commentating my fight and I heard you say that, man, it would get me so hype after. So,
I feel like that, but I don't know. But I would assume because the thing is, when I'm researching for amateur fighters and stuff, sometimes there's not a lot of information to go by. You know what I mean? There might not be a lot of stuff for like if it's one of your first fights, like you don't have a lot of background. Actually, funny story. I was asking one guy who's a 0-0 fighter, And I said, hey, like what could I talk about you, or like, give me some points. And the guy goes, I know what kind of fighter I am, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want anybody to know, and I want this to be a surprise. And I was like, all right, good for you.
Saving the sauce. I'm starting to learn too. That is a part of the game as well. But I don't know. I feel like as amateurs, we're trying to get recognition, we're still new to the game. We're trying to get, we're trying to sell tickets, trying to get seats in the events for the promotions that we're fighting for. So, people they don't only want to see, like, they want to know, like, things personal these days. People don't only want to see the fighters, they want to be a part of the journey. So the more you get to know about the fighter, I think it really helps you connect. So
yeah, nice. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, I feel like, really the job of you is to sell yourself to the promotion, to the fans, to the world. Right. And the commentator is just supposed to help that along, to kind of help sell you as well as that product and as that brand. Right. So, I mean, Khaleel, you don't need any help, right? Like, why are your teeth so white? Like,
I get that all the time, man. That's how I get the ladies, I must say. But
did you use some sort of filter? What's going? Like, you look
no, it's crazy. People ask me if they're fake all the time. I've just been happy, you live a positive life. You guys have beautiful smiles too. I feel like all of us right now, whenever we smile, all three of us, we light up this whole screen. So it's nice, just being positive. I'm a smiler, even though sometimes I'm a Gemini. So people, think I, could have my moods, but sometimes I'm conservative, but this smile shows, and you'll see it in the cage. I'm having a good time out there. So that's what it's about.
I can't wait. Raine, is there anything that you wanted to ask Mr. Khaleel Pearson?
I guess for me, I know the holidays were just last month, I guess like 2 months ago, right? If we include Thanksgiving. You have a fight coming up in 2 weeks. Was it hard during the holidays, because there's like a lot of food out there, trying to celebrate around, there's like a lot of drinking, I guess, and a lot of like, let me eat some more desserts here. It's the holidays anyway. Was it hard for a fighter, trying to prep for a fight?
Always. I actually went home to New Jersey to visit my family too for Christmas. So it was awesome, getting that home cooked food. I try not to overindulge too much, and you start to kind of be able to do the eye test where you can see what you can push a little bit and what you can kind of push to the side. But I wasn't worried too. It's a perfect time to mention that I've been working with a dietitian this time, who she's an intern for the UFC. She's amazing at what she does. So I knew that when I got back, I would be able to lock in with her and she would take care of me. And it's been great since. It's been such an easy cut. Sometimes how we eat plays into, it affects us emotionally. Sometimes you don't know if you're eating well. Sometimes you're over worried about what you're eating or if you're doing enough. But, when you have someone that's looking out for you and taking care of that aspect of it, it makes it so easy and you're just confident. You can still eat the things that you like, but know that it's helping you in your overall goal to make weight.
Nice. When you say go back to family in Jersey, whose family? Like what? How
my family. Like I went to see my mom, my sisters. It's been a while since we did the whole pajama thing. So that was cool. I've been on my own for a while too, so sometimes I forget about that stuff, and it was nice to go back and just kind of, that's what life's about, family, and that's what I do all this for at the end of the day too, so I can spend more time with my family and just bring them. So yeah, I think that's important too for fighters during their camps, to be reminded what they're doing this for, So yeah.
No, that's beautiful. When mom and sister know that you're fighting, are they behind it? Are they nervous for you? Like, what's the family feeling? Are they like, God, don't do that?
I grew up with a lot of fighters. It's crazy. I have 2 older sisters that fought. My mom was a fighter. My dad fought growing up, so it was pretty funny.
Wait, what?
So my 2 sisters, they love it. They give me advice. They send me clips all the time on Instagram. It's beautiful.
No, but they fought. They fought where?
In the streets. We grew up. We're from Brooklyn, so we moved out to Jersey, and we didn't play that stuff. So,
all right.
So they support me. My mom, it's hard for her to watch the fights because I'm a mom's boy. I'm her only son too. So yeah, she loves me, but she supports me. And one thing in this industry is you need people that really believe in you, like people that have this like undeniable belief in you and what you're capable of. And I feel like my mom is that person for me. Even if she worries about me, I know that it's always coming from a good place. So, that's my gal.
That's beautiful. Well, hello, Mama Pearson, because I'm sure she's watching this podcast. Hello to you. Khaleel, before we get on with one topic I want to talk about that's kind of outside of Khaleel Pearson focus, but I think I might have asked you this before. I forget if I did. Did I ask you on the last podcast on a scale of 1 to 10 how happy you are?
I'm sorry, say that one more time. Scale of 1 to 10.
Did I ask you on last podcast on a scale of 1 to 10 how happy are you?
No, I don't think you asked me that.
All right. Well, it's something, you're speaking about your mom. I think I started it right after your podcast, but it's a question that my mom used to ask me all the time growing up. So speaking of your mom, my mom would always ask me on a scale of 1 to 10, Tim, how happy are you? So Khaleel, I want to ask it to you on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I honestly, I would say I'm around a 7.
Nice.
Would you like reasons why?
Sure.
Why I feel that way?
Yeah, if you'd like to give it up.
Yeah, I feel like, well, let's start with the fight game. I still feel like I have some notches where I need to level up, and I feel like that's a big part of my happiness. Like I want all the hard work that I put in, I want to show something for it, like even though I do perform and I feel like I do a great job, it's just, I feel like that would elevate my happiness to another level because I feel like it would just take things to another level.
Yeah.
I changed a lot in my life too for this fight game as well. I gave up a lot of my old lifestyle to just give this game. So that's a big part of why I am happy. So that's why it is, up there. And it's a little low because right now my mom is watching my dogs and I miss them so much. So that's a part of the game. So after this fight, I can't wait to get back to them. But other than that, I'm blessed. I'm extremely blessed. I'm happy to be healthy. I'm in my prime ish. Yeah, I'm blessed. I'm extremely blessed. I'm blessed to be talking to you guys right now. I'm blessed to be here at Matador. I'm blessed to have like the people I have around me. So I'm happy. Because 10 is perfect. Like. It's tough to say, you're at a 10, your life has to be, amazing, but happiness, I'm definitely up there at a 7.
Yeah, that's good. Khaleel, the answers that we get from people are all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. Raine, last week, Impa Kasanganai, PFL champion, he said he was a 1.
He was a 1.
He was a 1, and then he gave
yeah, like a different explanation.
Yeah, and we have different people. So Khaleel, I really appreciate your answer. I like that. I like that you're being honest with it, and I like that you have your reasons. And I do hope that you get to see your dog soon. What are your dog's names?
I have a Pomsky named Stone. His full name is Victor Stone, and I have a long-haired Chihuahua, and his name is King Louis. Okay. And they're both amazing. I don't have any real children, so they are my kids, and I'm just blessed. My mom is taking care of them right now for me, so I can focus on training. But I can't wait to get back to them and bring them out here. So.
Yeah, of course. That's beautiful. Raine, is there anything you want to ask Khaleel before we move on?
Yeah. So for me, for an amateur fighter, when do you usually kind of decide that, hey, I think it's time for me to switch to pro?
So it's all about experience. That was a big reason why, I mentioned people trying to take the easy road. Sometimes when you take the easy road, you have all these easy bumps and then you get hit with adversity and you're like, wow, I'm really here. And I thought I was here. So I feel like I've faced some adversity so far in my career. I feel like I've been building. I haven't had any easy fights. I do want to, rewrite the script, get some wins this year. I'm not too worried about, belts, but I feel like I could see something in my future after this next fight. But I want this year, I'm older. I feel like the way I train, the way I compete, I can hang with some of the pros. And I feel like the pool gets bigger once you reach the pro level. Sometimes it's hard for me to get fights. People were turning down fights for me for even before my first loss. So the pool will open up for me. And, I'm looking at this year. I'm seeing a lot of younger guys signing contracts and, guys that, are at that level that I think I can hang with. So soon, I say this year, hopefully.
Nice. Yeah. I want to see it. Khaleel, whatever the path is for you, you talked about on the last podcast about like when one door closes, another one opens. And you seem to be a man that's very satisfied with the way that life goes is the way that life will go. And the way that life goes is the way that life is meant to be. So I'm really happy for you that you had that mindset. But yeah, you just play this out. and whatever happens to you, it's the right thing, and you're gonna drive that proper path.
You gotta trust. Trust is big.
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about trusting other people. You gotta trust yourself. Trust your journey. So I believe in that.
Very good, very good. Before we move on with the podcast, is there anything that you want to say to fans, viewers, and listeners of the podcast, and fans, viewers, and listeners of Khaleel the Real Pearson?
Just get ready for the real me. I could go on and make a million excuses, no coach, this and that, broken hand. I could do all that, but I'm still here to perform. I made the decision to step in. So trust in me, like I've been working hard. I'm one of the hardest workers you'll see, and I'm just excited to showcase who I am. I love doing these interviews because I love showing a little bit of my personality. I always get good feedback as well. This isn't just, a brawler's game. This is a thinking man's game, and it's all about, who you are, how you market yourself, what you stand for in this game. I see a lot of your guests on here that have so many positive things to say, so many inspirational people, so many people that have beliefs that you would never even know unless you talk to them, compared to seeing them in the cage. And I think that's one thing that, we forget about fighters, that we're humans, like even though we go in there, like, and we're brawlers and we love it, but, we're people and we have lives, we have feelings and stuff like that. So, rock with me, yo, because I'm really out here and I'm really like that. So
No, go follow Khaleel the Real Pearson. Khaleel, what is your Instagram handle? I know you changed it recently, which makes it very hard for me to message you.
I know. I'm so sorry, guys. Management, but doing the right thing. But it's easy. My Instagram right now is Fear the Real One.
Yes.
He's the real one.
Just because I feel like I'm really him. So I'm the one.
Yeah, Fear the Real One. Go follow Khaleel Pearson. You'll find him on our Instagram as well, of course. Yes. All right, Khaleel, the one thing I wanted to bring up with you, Raine, are you okay on time? Are we okay to go a little bit? Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to talk about, because we didn't talk about it last week, Khaleel, do you have a few more minutes? Are you okay?
Yeah, a few more minutes is fine.
Who do you keep looking at? Who's interrupting our podcast? Who are you looking at?
My coach. But he's over there working hard, so I'm not mad.
Yeah. All right.
Mr. UNF himself, you'll see him in my corner. I can't wait.
Is your coach Marcos Bonilla?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, he has headphones in, but he's going to see this after. And of course, he's the hardest working guy I know. So he has a client here waiting for me. They're being so respectful. I love it. So
nice. Okay, well, we won't keep you long. But the news came out about Francis Ngannou's fight, right? Francis Ngannou is not fighting for PFL. PFL is going to go bankrupt if he doesn't fight for them quick. And they're going to go bankrupt if he fights for them, because how are you going to pay him the money? But anyways, that's a different podcast. Ngannou gets his next boxing fight against Anthony Joshua, AJ. Khaleel, your thoughts on that fight?
Oh, I'm taking Francis easy, especially after his last performance. Easy. As an MMA guy too, like I don't want to stand and be like, oh, what he's doing for MMA is so good. Like I don't even want to go there, because I mean we all know that. But I feel like as an MMA fighter, the more I get my reps in, and when I go box, I feel good. Spending time here, where I don't have to worry about so many things, and I could just use my hands. And sometimes unorthodox fighters, like that stuff works against people that are extremely technical. And we see he hits hard. He knocked down, Fury. We didn't expect that. We all thought it was going to be a cakewalk for Fury. And he literally, a boxer's perspective, he won. But so.
All right. I want to argue with you here, Khaleel.
Let's go. I love it.
Here's my problem, Khaleel. Mm-hmm. When you say we shouldn't even go to where we say like what Ngannou is doing for MMA fighters, I don't like that angle, because he's not really doing anything for you, Khaleel. He's doing it for himself. He's doing his thing. What he's doing is so one in a kabillion is going to get to do what he's doing. It's not like, how we go like, oh, Ronda Rousey paved the path for women fighters. Yeah, because she paved the path so there could be women organizations. It's not like Ngannou's paving the path so that every MMA fighter can go fight, in the greatest boxing events, right? Like he's really doing something unique to himself, no?
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why I love talking to you. I love people, that I don't want to say are devil's advocates, but they poke,
Yeah.
So you're right. What he's doing, not many people can do. But sometimes I feel like industries, they let people like that slide so they can keep people motivated to show them what's possible. You get what I'm saying? So
okay.
they kind of let him go to, give us all motivation, which is beautiful. There are moves being made in the industry where, you have fighters pension coming in California. Like there are little things being done, but his 22 million, I do hear good things. I know he's changing lives of the people around him, which is what we want to do for all of the people that we care about.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine was just telling me a story. But I mean, you're right. It takes time, whatever industry it is. But I just think that the biggest thing that he's doing is just showing people what's possible. And
you mean what's possible in life? You mean like
like just coming from what he came from to be able to do what he's doing is beautiful.
That's true. No, okay, hold on. I'll give you that. Yes. I'll give you it's motivational in that aspect. I also think okay, it's great because he's bringing MMA to a greater audience, right? Like because
for sure.
Go, oh shoot, he was doing that UFC. Okay, maybe I should watch that, right? Like that. On a side note, Khaleel, I can't believe you just mentioned the MMA pension in California. Because guess what? Next week on the podcast, we have Assemblyman Matt Haney from California, who is the gentleman that authored that.
Wow.
And we're having him on to talk about the pension. Do you know?
Look how I set that up. Look how I set that up for you guys.
I mean, perfect. But do you know about that? Like, is that a big thing around California? Are people talking about it?
I got you. Yeah, I mean, it's important to know. Like, we want to know that at the end of the day, we're going to be okay. Boxers have a pension as well. So just, yeah, I think it's important. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone's banking on that. Everyone, wants to make it, even though I'm not sure what that making it is in this industry.
Okay,
but
here's the thing, Khaleel, all your friends that are watching this podcast, if you're in California, or maybe you're not in California, if you've got questions about what the hell this pension's about, send me the questions, because I'm going to have the guy who authored the bill. He's the guy. Send me the questions. I'll have him answer it on the podcast live.
That's beautiful. I will.
Any questions you've got, you tell your friends to send me some questions. Okay, second thing about Ngannou. Tyson Fury took it easy on him.
Yeah, he definitely did look past him.
Or underestimated him in the training leading up to that fight. That's my concern. Do you feel like that's the case at all?
Yeah, I feel like that's always the case with this game. I feel like I said, boxers sometimes think that MMA guys don't have skill, but sometimes that unorthodox thing that they have, or just them being able to just use their hands, is like, I don't know. It's a thinking man's game, so you can be as technical as you want to be, but it's all about what you got in here, and the stuff that we have to go through in the cage and in training, it makes you a different type of person. So applying that and letting someone get in the boxing ring with that type of stimulus, we saw, it put Fury down.
All right. Now, Anthony Joshua, you already said you think Ngannou's going to win, right?
I just think there's a high chance that he wins.
Especially, I think there's a high chance that he wins, especially after coming off that controversial loss. Like, I think if he puts on a good showcase, they'll give him that win over the win over Fury, if that makes sense.
Wait. You're saying if it goes to decision?
If it goes to decision, I feel like it was hard to give Francis that win over Fury because of all of his accolades. But if it was Anthony, I feel like it might be a little bit different. That makes sense.
But judges aren't supposed to think like that, Khaleel.
yeah. But this is just the reality. I'm just keeping it real. I'm a bettor. I mean, we're both better, so.
Okay. Last quick thing. I see. You're okay. Last quick thing. Anthony Joshua was on the MMA Hour today with Ariel Helwani. I pulled a quick clip of him. Okay. I've been telling everybody Anthony Joshua is going to murder Francis. I'm saying that Anthony Joshua is not going to be put in the same position as Tyson Fury. Now he's going to go, oh, crap, this guy actually can box, right? I thought this was a joke. This guy is serious. No way am I letting him do this to me like what he just did to Tyson Fury. I'm taking this super serious. I'm going to kill this guy. This guy's coming into my sport. No way I'm going to destroy this dude, right? I want Anthony Joshua to be mean and angry and hungry. But here's him on the MMA Hour. I just clipped this little clip and just see what you think about this.
Beat him better than Fury did. Let me stop him because Fury couldn't.
Not at all. Not at all. Because me and Fury are completely different. I'm just going to do exactly what I need to do, and I'm just going to focus on myself. Every opponent that me and Fury have in common, I've either stopped or knocked out.
Khaleel, he seems so laissez-faire about it. He seems so relaxed. I want him coming on podcast, grabbing the camera and shaking it, going, I'm going to kill this man. I'm going to destroy him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so worried. I'm so worried.
Yeah. I mean, he is speaking some truth, you know, and I feel like after Francis's last performance, he might have a lot of people in his ear, you know, telling him that he's going to lose. I know what it's like to be an underdog, you know, or like people, you know, kind of be doubting you when they kind of looked at you, you know, in certain ways. So definitely the demeanor doesn't tell it all, but sometimes killers are quiet, you know. So you got me thinking that might have just changed my bet. I'm not even going to lie. And he is more dangerous, you know. I think Fury did take that one lightly, and I do see what you're saying. He is more dangerous, I feel like, as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a big test. Big test.
Yeah, it's going to be a big test. I don't know what's going to happen, but Khaleel, we'll be talking about it up to the fight leading up. Dude, you are always welcome on this podcast. You're so friendly and can I say lovable? Like, this dude is just a lovable dude.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
When Raine announces you at UNF, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I would like a fist bump.
I'm still waiting for my first fist bump. I got really close with Gianni Vasquez once, but we were both like too polite to actually do a fist bump.
I would love to be your first fist bump. I would love to be. So yeah, we're gonna make it happen. I'm gonna throw whatever cameras in the way. We're just gonna figure it out.
Push him out of the way. That fist bump when she says your name, Khaleel. Yeah. Dude, I'm so excited for your fight. I can't wait to watch you get back in there, compete at UNF 15, January 27th. Go to upnextfighting.com. Raine, I'm doing your promo for you. We'll do it again. But Khaleel, I'm so excited for you, man. I'm so excited. Raine,
appreciate you guys.
Anything you want to say before we let him out of here?
Oh, no, I'm excited to see you again at UNF 15. It was great to see you, I think, sometime last year before the December 2nd fight. Mm-hmm. And I was very excited because I was like, oh, my God, he's fighting at the next UNF event. And I didn't get to see you there, but I'm glad that I'm going to get to see you and announce you again at UNF 15. So see you soon.
Yes, I'm very excited. I appreciate you guys just for thinking of me. We've been in contact this whole time. You've been telling me as soon as I get a fight to please let you know. So like I said, I'm so blessed. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, I'm excited to get you guys a win and be back on here right after.
Definitely. Khaleel, we love good people. We love meeting like fighters, but we love the good people. And that's who you are at heart, my friend. Congratulations on all your successes. Congratulations on this next fight. Get that win, come back on, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much.
Have a good
Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
This guy's too handsome, Raine. I don't know. This guy, it bothers me. He's so good looking for a fighter. No scratches, never anything on his face. Like he said on our last podcast, never gets black eyes, never enough. His teeth are shiny and white.
Shiny. He should be on a toothpaste commercial. You know, like drinking coffee, like the coffee's not staining his teeth.
Yeah. Perfect. Raine, we're going long here, but we had two very interesting guests that we had to get through. We talked about the DFSI, which was so important to me to talk about that. Then we talked to Khaleel Pearson, who is one of my favorite young amateur fighters, who's going to be at UNF. I'm so excited for him. He's a good guy, guys. Go follow him again at the Fear the Real one.
And it's number one.
Number one. Raine, aside from that, let's get out of here. And we'll see you guys next week. Raine's going to be in California in a couple of weeks at UNF, so get your tickets.
Yeah, get your tickets upnextfighting.com. It's UNF 15, January 27th. Doors open at 6 p.m. Fight starts around 7 o'clock. So please, please, please go there. And if you see me, say hi to me. My name is Raine.
Free fist bumps for everybody. But as Dr. Jimmy...
It can't be like this.
No.
Right?
But as Dr. Jimmy learned, do not get her to scream out your name because then she charges you $25. But it's worth it. Do it. That said, go to Ringside Raine on Cameo and get your Cameo shout out for you, your dogs, your pets, anybody. It's fantastic, right? It's great stuff. Raine, thank you so much. This was a wonderful podcast. I appreciate it and appreciate having you here. Next week, Assemblyman Matt Haney.
Ooh, can't wait. Oh, and before we go, happy birthday to DDP. I think his birthday was yesterday.
That's right.
January 14th. Yeah. Belated happy birthday to Dricus Duplessis.
Dricus Duplessis. I'm sure he'll be watching this while he's cutting weight. Hello, Dricus. You're one of our favorites, and go get that title for us. See you later, gang. Raine, have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.